The Jader and Kyle Show, episode 5 is back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 6. I'm going to get that wrong every single week.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. It's episode 6 of the Jader and Kyle Show where we just kind of go back and forth talking about a movie that you guys voted on. We address some news, what's going on in Schmoedown, maybe even sports a couple times. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about this week, but I'm not alone on this. My name's Kyle Rango. I'm joined by my buddy Jader. Jader, what's going on, man?
What up, man? What up? How's the quarantine life treating you, sir?
I mean, it feels like it's ending, and we really shouldn't be.
I agree 100%. I mean, it's kind of gone sort of back to normal for me. I went back to work. But work doesn't feel the same, to be completely honest with you. We have like tape everywhere, and we have where you can step, where you can't step. They have at least our place has been really strict with the whole how many people are in the store at the same time. So we don't allow more than 10 people at the store, so they have to wait outside. They've been really strict with the 6 feet, the distancing. So it's kind of weird to try to show an old lady once she bought her phone, or an older lady, hey, this is how you use your iPhone for the first time, and not being able to be very close to her. But it's been fun, man. And the scheduling has been actually pretty cool. We close earlier than usual, and we have teams. I think I said this last time, where we work 48 hours and then we stop. We are off 48 hours and then we're on again 48 hours. Unless they need some sort of coverage, then it's like it'll have to go to regional to see if that person's allowed to work, which happened in my instance where they needed me for a shift. And I said, yeah, because I'm going to say yeah to money, so.
I mean, at least you got something going on right now, and you got that biz. I'm a recent college graduate, and I got a degree in film. And as soon as I get out of college, the film industry is all on pause. So there's no jobs, no one hiring right now. So.
Dude, I know, man. Tell me, I mean, we're in this industry, and it's no interviews for us, no screening for us. Like obviously this is why we're going back and talking older films, because there's nothing there. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that a little bit too. Stuff like Trolls was first, and now Scoob came out today. For all you families who want to get that out there, and then Capone, the new Tom Hardy Al Capone movie directed by Josh Trank, got released. I don't know if you had a chance to check that one out yet. I haven't yet. I'm gonna probably see it this weekend. But
I heard not very good things about it.
Yeah, I think some people are giving him the benefit of the doubt based on his history, and they kind of feel bad for him. But I haven't heard one person say this movie's awesome.
Yeah, not one at all. So
it's too bad, because Tom Hardy's a great presence on screen. I just listened to a podcast where they did like the Tom Hardy Hall of Fame, where they put movies that he's in and they went over his entire filmography. It's so interesting to see where that guy started to where he's gone the past 3 years,
Agreed.
Like he's just such a presence. His last 3 years were like a uncredited role in Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Venom, and then Capone, and now Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Like that's what he's done the last 3 years, but the guy's still riding high.
No, but he's an incredible actor. I really dig when he's in a good film. He's fantastic. There's a movie that they don't really talk about too much, and I really enjoyed, is Legend.
Yeah, they brought that one up. I
think Legend is a great film. Obviously, Lawless, Warrior goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Inception,
of course. Rock and Rolla. A lot of people didn't like that Guy Ritchie film. I thought it was great. I really I think that was the last really good Guy Ritchie film, which I heard The Gentleman.
I like The Gentleman. I
heard The Gentleman was great. I haven't seen it. But I heard The Gentleman was great. I really liked Rock and Rolla. I liked he did that, and he did something else right before that. I think Locky or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You brought up you brought up The Gentleman real quick. That movie co-stars Michelle Dockery. There's a show on Apple TV Plus right now called Defending Jacob, but it stars Chris Evans, Michelle Dockery.
Told me about it. I haven't checked it out.
Awesome so far. It's only 6 episodes came out today, and there's 8 episodes altogether. Check that show out. That show is really like enthralling and entertaining. Chris Evans, like it's so cool. He's a movie star. He really is, but he takes it to the small screen and is able to carry that charisma also. So like,
Who,
I would recommend that one.
the I forget his name too, man. It sucks. The one of the kid from It that
Yeah,
plays Bill.
Jaden Lieberherm, or it's something like that. But I
And
know
they worked already together on Knives Out. So
yeah. So
all right.
it's really something. I think only 2 more episodes left after this. So,
Okay.
but we're gonna cover something real quick before we get into the bigger stuff. And Jader's World of the Schmoedown. There's Schmoedown news going on. Free agency happened. So I guess people who didn't get drafted had the opportunity to talk with managers and fill that spot up. And there was a deadline on Monday. So there were some big signings. You had some little things like Molly Damon got in there, which is, it helps people out. And someone like, I don't know, Sabrina Ramirez, and I think people overhyping her a little bit. We don't know what she is yet, but still. But then you got the big names no one really saw coming. And the first one was Chris Jericho. I'm not a big wrestling fan. I never really watched it, but I know who that guy is because he's put his name out there. He's a huge marketer. He's part of a band. He's got his own successful podcast. He even launched a new wrestling brand with AEW. So that guy knows what he's doing. And now he's joining the Schmoedown. It's kind of like another marketing thing for him too. And I think that's really impressive for the Schmoedown to get him.
That man has one of the finest kicks I've ever seen in wrestling, man. He has this move where I hate that I don't really know the kick.
Mm-hmm.
What I know it's a signature move of his, but it's fantastic. Anywho, funny enough, I knew Chris Jericho as Y2J because I was watching wrestling, but I wasn't I was never crazy about wrestling if it wasn't Stone Cold and The Rock. Those were for me like gods, right?
Okay.
So I did like the whole Y2J thing, but I was kind of like stepping out of wrestling by then. Funny enough, you mentioned his band, Fozzy. I've seen them live.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because I go to shows. I go to a lot of metal shows and festivals, and he's always one of the names that pops up. And, man, that's where I was like, this guy fucking rocks.
Is he a singer or is he like a...
Yeah, he's the lead singer. He's the lead singer.
Okay.
And it's his band, man. They rock out. It's nothing out of this world, but knowing where his background came from, that it came from wrestling, and then he took on the world, and not took on the world, but he ended up taking the metal world and did that. I thought I like salute him for that because it was fun, and he was fun to watch, man. He was a good front man. And then obviously his podcast, I've listened to some episodes here and there. I can't say that I really listen to it, but it's funny because my girl is the one lost her shit when the Schmoedown signed on Chris Jericho. She went nuts. She's like, that is amazing. She was at the possibility. Tim, so did I. I saw him at an Ozfest as well. That's awesome. But yeah, it's she lost her mind. She's saying like we might be like to be able to maybe meet him. She went crazy about that. Obviously, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if how it's gonna be with him competing in the Schmoedown, how invested he is and all that. But the name that I lost my shit with was Kevin Smith.
So yeah, you get the Kevin, and Kevin is someone who's been kind of circling the Schmoedown for a couple years. It feels like ever since it started, his name's been thrown out there as a possibility. Then when Mark Bernardin joined a couple years ago, everyone's like, "Oh, we're so close!
Sure.
It's gonna happen! It's gonna happen! It hasn't happened yet." And now we're as close as ever because he's officially joined one of the factions, Koi Jandru's faction.
With perfect fit. Perfect fit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Quirky Mercs, they call themselves. That works perfectly for Kevin Smith. Kevin is an interesting case because he's obviously a very successful director. He's a very successful host, and he's out here all the time, always talking about all this comic book stuff and the world of film. And so the natural fit right now would be Kevin Smith versus Chris Jericho. That'd be a fun match.
Well, that was the first call out. Chris Jericho called out Kevin Smith. He says, if I do the Schmoedown thing, I'm gonna go for Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith accepted it, and then obviously now the rest is history. So we'll see when that match happens. But I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the first match.
Yeah, and it brings both of these guys bring a lot of credibility to the Schmoedown. Obviously, you already had Booker T who was like involved not in the matches itself, but he was part of the storylines, and he's been promoting it before too. Now you're bringing Jericho in there. You're going to bring the whole wrestling audience is going to follow him, especially if he's promoting it himself. And then Kevin Smith has a huge following from the community the Schmoedown's already a part of, but he's got an even bigger umbrella, so he's going to bring people into it too. I mean, it's a great time for you to have joined the Schmoedown, and
I know it's great. I honestly, and it's funny. I think you know that for Halloween I was Silent Bob last year.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I almost tweeted him to let him know because imagine the Schmoedown when I won Orlando, that was October 19th, and Halloween was just like about 2 weeks later, and I wanted to tweet him out, never did. But I think this is pretty awesome that we have celebrities joining this thing now, and I'm pretty sure this is just the beginning. Once word gets out because let me tell you, I've showed my matches to a couple of my coworkers because they're like, hey man, you never, what happened with that thing that you won in Orlando? I'm like, oh man, during the quarantine or release. And I showed it to them, and they were all pretty entertained. They were like, man, this thing is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So and they're like not crazy about like some of them knows new movies, and again the round one questions for overall are to
Pretty
engage
easy.
the audience.
Yeah.
So they were guessing, and they're like, oh man, I do pretty good, and it was awesome to see that, and
Right.
I think that was the goal for Christian is to get more people to watch. And now again, what you just said, Chris Jericho, because he has some serious fans, Chris Jericho being on this now is going to bring the fans. Kevin Smith being on this, and then we haven't talked about the other celebrity that got this was Doug Benson.
Well, I don't know that much about Doug Benson. Honestly, I know he's been on. When I used to watch movie fights, he was down that a couple times. Hilarious guy.
Yeah,
I know him and Sam Levine are good friends, which is why he joined his faction. He loves movies. I know he hosts a podcast called Doug Loves Movies, but I don't know what else he really does. I just kind of see him as this goofy guy. So
he's
do you know?
Stand-up comedian.
Stand-up comedian.
He does stand-up. Yeah. He does stand-up. He's been in a couple. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure he's been like cameos in some movies and things like that.
Yeah.
But I know overall he does. I do follow him. I followed him on Instagram way before, and he does a lot of stand-up. So that's why I know for sure he's a stand-up comedian because he's always promoting his shows. So
well, those were your big names. You also had you're still on your burning droogs, Robert Meyer Burnett. Which happy birthday to Robert Meyer Burnett too.
Oh, shout out to the captain. Birthday. That's right. It is his birthday.
Yeah, so happy birthday to him. But you got a couple additions to your faction too. The biggest one was a guy that I really respect in the community, and
so do I.
Mance.
That's what got me really. Let me tell you, man.
For his movie release dates knowledge, but he's also one of the biggest movie critics out there, one of the biggest hosts out there, and he's constantly putting his name, interviewing celebrities. I really respect what Scott Mance brings to the table. So I think that's awesome. That's someone that is part of your inner circle now that you could talk to.
Yeah, no, 100%. And let me tell you, when the Droogs picked them up, I got really hyped. That's where I was like, oh hell yeah! Like I was super hyped about that because it's exactly what you just said. That is a man that I respect in the community. I overall, to be completely honest with you, love when he reviews his films. I've seen him on Access Hollywood before. And he's always, the Golden Globes. He's always
so
around.
Passionate. So passionate.
And he's very passionate. And I love the way he talks about La La Land.
Yes,
like that's my main thing with him. The way he talks about that film, which I love as well. And but seeing him that he's in the same faction as I am, knowing that eventually I will, be able to talk to him and reach out and what have you. That for me is a treat on its own. Like very, very excited. I was looking at the roster again, and I think we do really have a good faction. Obviously, everybody else has made different moves, like crazy moves. But I feel like even if you want to announce how the free agency and all that stuff works next season.
So Christian announced earlier. I want to get your thoughts on this. Is how the draft's going to work next season, which is basically everybody's a free agent now, including you. Everyone's going to be a free agent, and each manager is able to sign 4 people. Those are their 4 going into next season. So if you're someone like Roxy, you're probably going to get your odd couple back. You're someone like I don't know, Sam, you're probably going to try to get Ethan Irwin back. Yeah. So, and Andrew Guy. So everyone's a free agent. Managers can sign 4 people, and then everyone else's name is put into the draft. And then I think he said 4 rounds, so 4 more rounds of the draft, and then those are your factions right there. The 8 spots filled. So this is interesting because someone like the Barbarian is fascinating to me, because if you're Tom Dagnino, you're gonna go do everything you can to get Roca back, to get Merle back, to get Bateman back, to get Riley back.
If they don't retire, what happens if Roca decides that this is going to be? I doubt it because of
There's
the way
not
the
a
season,
chance. Yeah,
the way the season has been put out. I agree. I didn't. I should have thought about that before I said anything.
but
Roca talks a lot about the future of Schmoedown and all the newcomers, how he wants them to be at their very best and this and that and that. He talks like he's 1 foot out, which but every time he plays, I feel like he isn't, because he always comes 100% and he does what he does. But I feel like, part of Roca is trying to, I feel like he will always be a part of the Schmoedown, but I feel as a competitor, like we're probably going to see, this is probably going to be, maybe I see him maybe doing 1 or 2 more seasons,
I see Rachel Cushing coming back before Roca retires. Honestly, to me, Roca will always play this game of I'm never coming. I'm done. This is it. I'm done. This is it for me. And then he'll get that passion back in it. So I think this whole draft and manager thing has reignited that fire again that never died. And he wants to get revenge on people. He's got Ethan Irwin coming up. So I don't see Roca go anywhere. But for you, like, what is this for you? Are you going to sit back and let managers court you? Or are you going to reach out to some? Like, what is your strategy going into this?
Depends on how the rest of the season goes, to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
I want to say I want to play it out. I'm actually excited. I actually, it's his birthday today, so I won't bother him today. But I do want to reach out to the captain and tell him that as soon as he can put me in the ring to do it, without hesitation, I want to play. You know. But I gotta see. I honestly want to see how everything plays out. To be completely honest with you, I want to make some. There's no secret. I have a very good relationship with Kaiser. He's been on the show before. I wanted to be in that faction. Maybe things couldn't get done. I haven't talked to him in like a week. But that's one faction that I feel like I could be a part of that. Like that's who I am. I'm not. They're such a neutral, because I don't see them as heels, to be completely. They kind of like carefree, do what they got to do, and that's that. You get me? They're not like corruption heel, how Shannon and Mike are and all that stuff, which they do a great job. But I feel like that's how I am. I'm there to do work. I'm here to have a good time. I'm not a goody two shoes, but I'm also not you know what I'm trying to say. I'm getting like a loss for words right now. But Dungeon is one, and it's no secret that I've been wanting to join. But at the same time, I was so gun ho about joining the Dungeon, and I ended up in the Suspects. And look at that, like I was sad to leave that faction. So I don't know if
what you got to do, man. Yeah. So what you got to do is just right now. You're probably with Burnett for the rest of the season, and that's good. Burnett's he's big. He's a big personality. He's actually a lot more knowledgeable about the game than people give him credit for. And you gotta just win underneath him. Make yourself valuable so that by the end of the year, people are reaching out to you. I think any of these managers could be great. So right now, win 2, 3 in a row, how many ever matches you can get, and then by the end of it, who knows what can happen.
I mean, this thing is getting so big. I'll be happy to get 2 more matches. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I want to play. So.
You got to make yourself stand out too. You get the big entrances or do something cool. Like when I first saw Smets play, what locked me in on him was how fast he would answer the questions and how quickly he walked off when he was done knocking out. I believe
Smets reminded me of Tom Hardy's character in Warrior.
Yeah,
he would fight, knock the guy out, get the hell off stage. They didn't care about anything. They didn't care to do a post game interview. It was what it was. He just, one of my favorite things, and it sucks because I love Hector Navarro, right? Is when he annihilates him, and he goes on the mic. He goes, "Get me Kalinowski," and gets off.
Yeah.
Love that, bro. I love that.
So yeah, he knows how to play his character. So yeah, man, if you end up with him, that'd be great too. So there's also I just heard this week. Congratulations to him. His girlfriend's pregnant.
Yeah,
So,
man. I actually congratulated him and told him how I started sharing pictures of Ariana with lightsabers.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about it, and he's super stoked, man. So yeah, congrats to him, man. It's super exciting news, man. Girls are awesome, dude. Girls are dads, so girls are for dad. You get me?
Well,
So,
Kobe or L. Duncan this year, after Kobe Bryant passed away, she coined the term "girl dad."
Girl
and
dad, yeah.
It became this huge phenomenon. So yeah, it's definitely to be a father of a daughter. I'm sure it's got to be something special.
Yeah.
So, moving on to a big topic for us. So 2 weeks ago we had the
infamous episode.
We had a 4.5 hour podcast talking about all the Marvel films. And at the end of it, I kind of remembered it, but I didn't want to say anything. We never ranked them. We never put our personal rankings out there, which that would have been another 2 hours. That we would have.
Yeah, dude. I know. I'm good. I would have shut down the show.
So,
I'm like stammering over my words right now.
So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it today. We're gonna rank our MCU films. It's not the number one topic. We're gonna get to Wolf of Wall Street later, so it's not gonna be a whole thing, a whole discussion. But Jader and I each have our own list, and I don't know how you want to do this. Do you want to do like 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, or do you want to each read both our lists?
You want to start bottom from top?
Let's do our 23 through like 17.
All right, cool.
And then we'll just keep going back.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Go ahead.
You want me to go first?
Go first.
All right. My 23 is The Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
22.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You're right.
My 23 is Iron Man 2.
All right. No, let's do this tier. Let's do the tiers. So 23 to 17, so that like we kind of can see what we have in common. All right. So 23 is The Incredible Hulk. 22 is Thor: The Dark World. 21 is Thor. 20 is Captain Marvel. 19 is Iron Man 2. 18 is Spider-Man: Far From Home. And 17 is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Shit. No. We have completely different lists.
Here we go.
Right. So 23, I got Iron Man 2. 22, I got Iron Man 3. 21, I got Thor: The Dark World. 20, I got Captain Marvel.
Okay, that's a match right there.
Yeah. 19, I got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 18, I got Ant-Man and the Wasp. 17, I got Thor.
Okay, so we got a couple commonalities in there.
Yeah.
Thor 2, and actually Thor 1 and Thor 2, Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2. And did you say Incredible Hulk yet?
No, yet. It barely missed the spot. It's my number 16. I told you I have a lot of love for that film. I really do have a lot of love for that film. And I feel like it gets no respect, but it's fine.
Oh man. So I just, it's not for me. That movie's there's a phone ringing here. That movie's kind of forgotten. Oh yeah, so yeah. It's the house phone, which I mean, who still has that?
Who still has that?
Exactly, my grandmother. That's why. So The Incredible Hulk, to me, I just don't. Whenever I'm doing the rewatch, I don't care to go back to it because I know it's just so forgotten and looked over by Marvel itself that I don't care about it either. So
that's why I feel like it's disrespectful, to be completely honest with you.
It's disrespectful.
It is. It's disrespectful because I feel like it's a good movie. It has a good villain. I really liked Tim Roth in it. I liked Edward Norton in it. I don't know. It wasn't. And the thing was that I'm a huge, as watching the MCU, I've gotten other characters where I've fallen in love with them. But you have to understand, growing up, I loved The Incredible Hulk. I loved it. And getting that movie that we got from Ang Lee, like, pissed me off so much that when I finally when I saw The Incredible Hulk, I thought they did him justice. So that's why it's one of those films that I really, really do like. But again, it's number 16 for me. Honest, and you know what? One of the movies that I felt that I should have put higher, because I could have swapped 16 and 17. I mean, 17 and 18 was Ant-Man and the Wasp, because I really do like that movie.
The movie's a lot of fun.
That
We'll
movie's fun.
get to it. I had Spider-Man Far From Home in my bottom tier. That movie does not work. It works. Okay, it works, but it's not. It's kind of unnecessary. Also, like it feels like a huge bridge from Spider-Man Homecoming to what we're ever gonna get for Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's him mourning Iron Man, but does that deserve an entire film? I don't think we needed that. I'd rather see a good Spider-Man story. I don't think we got that.
I'm very biased when it comes to Spider-Man films, and I will tell you that right now
Okay.
because
Okay.
just giving you a heads up.
Well, obviously you're not biased towards the Guardians films because the Guardians 2 is way too low on your list.
I figured. I knew when I told you, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be interesting."
Oh yeah. So let's do 16 through 11 here.
Right.
And this is gonna be fun because there's at least one I'm gonna mention that you're gonna get pissed off at. 16 is the original The Avengers. 15, okay, maybe two. 15 is Captain America: The First Avenger. I think 15 up is the start of movies that I will go back and watch all the time because I really love these films. 15 is Captain America: The First Avenger. 14 is Ant-Man. 13 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. 12 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
I know you were. I knew. I'm like, this is gonna be where he has Captain America in this tier.
And then 11 is Captain America: Civil War.
Wow.
Yep. I think Captain America is a great character. I love what they've done with his arc and stuff, and I think it's the best trilogy out of all of Marvel. I just don't find his films that rewatchable. Like I'd rather watch other lighthearted stuff more than I watch the more serious stuff. Even though these are some of the better made films, I'd rather watch the bigger adventure stuff.
Well, that's probably where me and you are different. I like the somber stuff. I like the seriousness. Again, I think the greatest comic book films are Dark Knight, which is a very somber film. Logan is another one that's very somber, and Winter Soldier. Spoiler alert.
See, that's where it used to go. People tend to put together drama with great. Like if this comic book movie is super serious, then that means it's going to be great. And I think that's not the case because I think
it depends on the person. Though.
It's great too.
Because I overall do like sad, somber films. Like again, Steph says it all the time that she's like, "Why do you like depressing movies with like sad endings?" And I'm like, it's not that. I just feel like it's very like there's a lot of realism in them. You know. So and don't get me wrong, like. I love the lighthearted. We'll continue with the list when we'll kind of discuss.
Do your 16 through 11.
So my number 16 is The Incredible Hulk. My number 15 is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Number 14, I have Ant-Man, which is the same as you. Number 13, I have Spider-Man: Far From Home. Where are we going up to 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 12 is Doctor Strange, and my number 11 is Captain America and the First Avenger.
Oh, so you really like the Captain America trilogy?
I really do.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. I think the First Avenger is the most underrated film, and I can't get my grandmother and my sister to watch it. I'm trying to introduce them to it, and they won't do it because they feel the same as me. They like the lighthearted, the fun stuff. And my sister views Captain America as his stereotype, the Boy Scout. And like, oh, he's just not that interesting. She's seen the Avengers films, but she just doesn't want to watch his movie because she finds him boring. I'm like, just trust me, give this a chance. You'll really enjoy it. So
these films is what changed I feel that way about him. Reading the comics, and he's a badass in the comics, don't get me wrong. But I've always felt exactly what your sister described is how I felt until what the MCU did with him. And made me more of a fan than I was.
Yeah.
So, but my number 11 and 10 could have swapped out, but my me being biased kicked in. Okay. And that's why Captain America didn't crack the top 10.
So you bring up Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is coming up in just a second on my list too. Actually, let's hold that discussion. Let's get to the Ant-Man films. I feel like this is where they fall for almost everybody except for like two people. Where I know two people have Ant-Man at number 1. That's their favorite Marvel movie. So it's either their favorite or it's right in the middle. It kind of sits there. I think Ant-Man is an underappreciated franchise. Honestly, it's both films have come after Avengers films, and people are like, "Oh, well, they didn't. It's not a huge movie." Like, no, it's not supposed to be a huge movie.
It's supposed
What?
to be a tiny movie.
Yeah, you didn't like it because they didn't go to 2 planets. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a very overlooked franchise. I can kind of say this here. I think I talked to a producer over at Marvel. I'm not going to say who, over a Zoom call. They are working on Ant-Man 3. That is coming. Ant-Man 3 is definitely coming.
That's so great.
That's
That's so great. This is the thing that from I want to say my number 20 to 23, 21, 22, 20, 20, 21, 22, 23 are movies I don't care to revisit. It's kind of where you sit with Hulk, right? So I don't really care to revisit Captain Marvel. I will if I have to. Don't really care to. Thor in the Dark World is another one. Iron Man 3 and 2 are some that I just don't care to rewatch. Bro, from 19 and up, I can. So your Guardians 2, your Ant-Man, your Thors, that I can rewatch. It's not a movie that I will dread to watch. I just obviously, again, and this is what's amazing about MCU that we said on the 4.5 hour show, is that they just have so many great films that it sucks that you're ranking, a Guardians of the Galaxy, or at least for me, at a number 19 when it's still a fairly fine film. It's not a terrible film.
You had to force that word out of your mouth. I'll say fine.
Yeah.
One of your bottom 4, I just want to point out, I haven't mentioned yet. So we'll get.
No, I know which one it is.
let's do 10, 9, and 8. All right.
10, 9, and 8. All right, go ahead.
All right. Number 10 for me is Black Panther. 9 is Doctor Strange, and then 8 is Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I knew Iron Man 3 was up there. I can't believe that's even in your top 10.
Iron Man 3 is a great movie.
That's crazy to me.
It's a great movie. Let go of your Mandarin stereotype that you like him in the comics. Let it go. And then watch it through that.
I did. I rewatched it now, and I told you it gets better, but not that much better, man.
It
really doesn't. I did it for the rewatch I didn't get to see all 23 films, obviously, because we had a week to prepare. But Iron Man 3 was one of the ones that I did rewatch, and it doesn't click with me. It just doesn't click. It's kind of, I guess, how you feel about the Hulk. You just don't care for it. I'm the same way about Iron Man 3. I like certain aspects of it. There's certain scenes or certain parts of the film that are good, very good. Him, and it's one of your favorite. And I love that you always call it out, because it's one of my favorite scenes when he gives his address and tells him, "Come find me."
Yes,
that is like, I love that. I love that about
badass. Yeah, I think it's Downey's best performance in any of these films. I put Civil War and Endgame as the other 2 that are competing. Actually, no, first Iron Man 2, but Iron Man 3, he's dealing with his PTSD and is really struggling. So, like, you get to see the tear on his face from what he's been going through, and then when you think about everything he has left to come, when you watch this again, you're like, damn, man, this character is going through so much. So I really respect the hell out of Iron Man 3, the big swing it took. I think people will eventually come around to it, but we'll see. What's your 10, 9, and 8?
All right, so my number 10 is Spider-Man Homecoming. All right, and that's where my bias kicked in, because I'm like, I have to have a Spidey film in my top 10. It has to be, and I love Homecoming so much. And
it's high on my list.
Yeah, it's such a great film, and that's why. But I'm not saying that but I feel like Captain America, the First Avenger, does deserve to be in the top 10 as well. That's why I cracked it at 11. Like, hey, you didn't make it, but just know that you were almost there,
Okay.
So I have Spider-Man Homecoming at number 10. I have the First Avengers at number 9, and I have Captain America Civil War at number 8.
Wow, so we got different lists. We got really different top 10s.
Completely. We have a lot of similarities, though, because there's a few that we haven't said. Like, I think our 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are pretty similar on the list.
For the most, our top 6 are going to be pretty similar.
Yeah,
one film for each of us. When we get to, so okay, so you don't have Black Panther in your bottom 3 of the top 10 yet. Okay, so we'll wait on that Black Panther discussion, because I really do like Black Panther too, but I had to put it at 10 for a reason. So 10, 9, 8. So we'll just do one at a time now. My 7 is Spider-Man Homecoming.
All right. Well, we can talk Black Panther now because my number 7 is Black Panther.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Black Panther's fantastic.
Wakanda.
Wakanda forever. That's how we need to start greeting people now too. No more
Hell yeah.
shaking hands, no more fist bumps. Let's do this. I
Yes,
think
dude.
it's awesome.
You know how tired he must be, Chadwick Boseman, of doing
No.
this.
With Black Panther, so this I think this movie is like it's so significant and not just a comic book movie history, but like film history because it was such a cultural phenomenon for the African American community and also the comic book community, and then the Academy Award community. Like this thing was I never expected it to be as big of an awards contender as it was, and for it to come out in February and be in the conversation all the way through December is something that very few films do. Like Get Out did it the year before, and that's the only thing I can remember off the top of my head. So yeah,
and Daniel Kaluuya is in it, both films.
Yep.
Yeah,
it
but
gravitas to it with all that entire cast.
Black Panther was in my top 5 until certain films came out and it bumped it down. And I thought that movie blew me away. The moment that the credits rolled from what you said, and I felt like I was one of the ones overhyping the film. Did we see that together? I forget because I know we saw it.
I didn't get to do it early.
No. But when it comes from the characters in that, there was so many likable characters, including T'Challa himself, right?
Oh yeah.
Siri, everyone. It's just Winston Duke's character, everything. The soundtrack. I am a big fan of that soundtrack, and I was listening to it for months to come.
I bought that CD. I don't buy CDs. No one buys CDs anymore.
It was so good. The soundtrack was, and the score was fantastic. Everybody kept saying it's a rehash of The Lion King. You know what? The Lion King is one of my favorite Disney films of all time. I don't care. It kind of, if you look at it, it could be. You could see similarities to it. But it was just, I felt like, it's a revolutionary film. I really, really, really did enjoy it. It did so much for the Black community. Comic book film got nominated for Best Picture. It was just so great. Yeah. I can't love this movie enough. So.
And then Homecoming. So then we'll get to Spider-Man Homecoming right now too. Spider-Man Homecoming is my favorite Spider-Man film personally. I love Spider-Verse too, and I know that's like universally #1 film, but I go back to this one more because I love what Tom Holland did with the character. He's the perfect Spider-Man. Like there's no arguing. And I know people have like some nostalgia for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's fine. Tom Holland's perfect as this character, and he's only getting better.
I don't know. We said this on the I think we did when we were talking Spider-Man. How I felt that Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker, but he was an all right Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was I didn't like his Peter Parker, but I loved his Spider-Man. The quips and all that with him being actual Spider-Man was this kid Tom Holland is literally both. I didn't care if he was in the suit or not. I wanted to see him on screen, and he absolutely kills this role. And I said this on the review as well that I cannot wait. I don't know how people are not hyped for the third Spider-Man film, given everything that we've seen and how Far From Home ends. Like, we're expecting. So I'm expecting greatness from that film. I really, really am, and I absolutely love. And I loved how we finally see Peter Parker dealing with real kid problems because he's a kid in this film. And I love at first the whole homecoming thing, and I don't know if I said this or not. Like it being about the homecoming dance made this even better. It did feel like a John Hughes high school film with throwing your superhero elements to it. Every character, I like the whole him being nervous to ask a girl out to the dance. His friend, when his friend finds out that he's Spider-Man, how he wants to like tell the world. It's just very, for a comic book film, I felt very realistic. The characters were very, very realistic, and fun to watch. It was just really, really fun to watch. And that movie has one of the best twists in MCU history, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Michael Keaton's amazing in that film. I can't wait to see him again. 4 through 6 for me are interchangeable.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna say I'm not gonna say them all at the same time, but 4 through 6 to me, these next 3 films, I could switch them up in any order possible. This is just how I feel on the day I made the list. Um, so 6 is Avengers: Infinity War for me.
Okay.
And what do you got for 6?
Thor Ragnarok.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with me. 1 through 6 is it depends on the day that you had, and today I just felt that way because I saw a certain movie yesterday. In fact,
Okay.
I rewatched something on my top 3 yesterday, and I was like, man, it's just so good. You
Okay.
know?
So all right, because my 1, 2, and 3 are like kind of locked in. 1, 2, and 3. These are my 3 favorite films. So
My 1 and 2 are the only 2 that are locked in.
okay.
To be completely honest with you.
All right. Number 5 is Iron Man, the first Iron Man.
Number 5 is Iron Man.
Okay, perfect, man. Because
Yeah.
we've said it all before, but this, and we also got to get the Wolf of Wall Street because there's so much to say about that. But Iron Man is like what it does to establish this universe, but also if this universe never happened and it's just this film that came out, this would be one of my favorite films because it's so much fun. It's so cool, and I always go back. One of the most rewatchable scenes in any of these movies is when he flies to the country where the terrorists are again. And he like the suit for the test run for the suit for the first time in combat. And he lands and he kind of starts blasting them. And then the terrorists are holding the kids hostage. He fires out those pellets.
Yeah, bro.
And it just kind of takes off and the tank shoots him down. You're like, oh, wow, what's going on here? And then he gets up, the tank shoots, misses him, and he fires and walks away with the explosion. That's
Like
the
a
best
badass.
walking away from explosion I've ever seen in any film.
I agree 100%
Yeah.
with that same scene. I also love when he's building the suit for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That for me is just a great. I don't know if you can even call it a montage. You know, there's no music playing in the background or anything like that. But the way when he was building the thing and when he finally wears the suit for the first time and he's getting out of there, that for me is exciting stuff, man. And this is a movie for that I just, again, it couldn't have had. I mean, obviously every film has to have a villain and all that for the climax and all that, but I didn't even care for Ironmonger in this film. A lot of people don't even know that is Jeff Bridges, who Ironmonger is, if you ask them. You know,
that character's grown on me a lot throughout.
No, he's great. Jebediah Stane is amazing. He's an amazing villain. But I just cared so much for Tony's adventure as becoming Iron Man, and that's what makes this movie so great.
And you know what else? You know what else is really fun is that opening scene where he's sitting in the truck with the military officers. Just the quick one-liners that he has saying there is kind of your introduction. You're like, okay, this character's a lot of fun.
With the whole peace sign, he goes, "Yeah, peace is good" or whatever. He says like, "What the message?" Yeah, and he mentions MySpace, which is crazy,
but it still works. And then when he meets whatever the reporter is, Christine Everhart, when he meets her, and she's berating him. And she says something like, "They've called you the Da Vinci of death." And he goes, "That's ridiculous." And then and then she goes, "What about she comes up with something, and he goes, "That's not bad." But she says something like, "Oh, do you lose how many hours of sleep do you lose over that?" And he goes, "I prefer to lose a few with you." And then like it's just such a great line.
No, I know exactly. So yeah, no, Iron Man, and like I'm telling you, Iron Man, for it being the first MCU film to be in our top 5 tells you how great it is. For having such a different list, but still being in the top 5, it's just a fantastic movie. And I know a lot of people that, like you said about Ant-Man, Iron Man is hands down their number 1 MCU film. You know?
Yeah. So let's take a complete detour from sharing. Number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Well, my number 4 you mentioned just now, so it's all good.
What's your 4? Infinity War?
No, Endgame.
Oh shit! All right. So yeah, so we'll start with my 4 then, because my 4 is Guardians 2. We've had the big discussion. I think this was the biggest discussion we had when we did the reunion.
I think it was. Yeah.
You've heard my piece on it. I love this film, and I think people will eventually come around to it. You just like, I think also too, once Guardians 3 comes out, you'll be able to watch all 3 of these films and be like, okay, this is a great story of just these characters from beginning to end. And I could see that second part of them growing as a family a lot in the second film. So the first is them getting introduced to each other, and the second one is them trying to figure out what it's like to live with each other now. Obviously, Baby Groot was awesome. Everything with Michael Rooker and Rocket and Groot on that, and then the Ravager ship, Taserface.
Amazing,
I
amazing. Those stuff are great. But you're talking about you're talking about 5-10 minute scenes out of a 2 hour long movie.
I love
That
Kurt Russell too, and everything that happens with him.
Kurt Russell, and I love Kurt Russell, man. I do love Kurt Russell, but I just didn't think he was, charismatic, yeah, but I didn't like him. I didn't like him as a villain. I didn't like Ego as a villain, period.
Oh wow, I think he's one of the best ones Marvel had.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
You know what also works about that everything is how they tie it into the songs that are on the Awesome Mix Volume 2. Especially Brandy, when he compares his whole purpose in life to the song Brandy, about how C is his girl. That's such smart writing right there, how you can connect it back. So yeah, I love Guardian 2. We had the discussion already, but you at 4 with Endgame. Endgame is 3 for me. So that's where it locks in for me. So that means you have a certain film above Avengers Endgame, which I'm assuming is Infinity War, your 3, right?
I do, because I saw it last night.
I saw it last night.
So imagine, I saw Endgame, finished it, couldn't go to sleep, and saw Wolf of Wall Street back to back. It's a 6-hour journey there. All right, so we're gonna talk obviously both Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame.
Talk them as a package deal. I mean, that's what they are.
That's the thing, and that's why I have them exactly that. I could have put Endgame at 3 or 4, to be completely honest with you. But I feel like the way the story goes, it's the way that it should be. This is like saying Godfather 1 and 2. It's one long story for me. And if they ever release a 6-hour long version of this film, it like tied in together the way that just tie it in together, I will watch. Or if they even release it in theater, I will sit my happy ass down and watch it for 6 hours. I really, really would. Why I have Infinity War, obviously, besides it coming out first, and it's again when it tells it when I'm telling you about the whole somber feel, the way that movie leaves you at the end is something that it's not that feeling. Even though I was one of the ones like they had to come back, but how was the whole what the hell are they gonna do? And leaving that theater, we saw that movie together. Everybody was kind of speechless, like, how the hell is this gonna happen? We know they're gonna come back, but how? And I feel like Endgame we got that big payoff that we wanted, that we've set 22 films to finally get this payoff, or 21 film, because 23 would be Far From Home. So 21 films that, wanting the big payoff, and we definitely got it. They definitely delivered. Everybody shines in Endgame at the end. If you're a fan of Black Panther, you have your scene with Black Panther, and I fucking forget every time what Okoye and all these the soldiers from the Wakandians or whatever, and you have your Guardians come out, and the Guardians are fighting, and together, and they have a little moment, and you have Spider-Man come out, and then you have Ant-Man turn into Giant Man again, that you haven't seen since Civil War, which we couldn't. Yeah, so it just has so many great moments, and the thing is that I loved, which was not a bad thing at all, the fan service that Endgame did play with us, at least for being, Marvel fans, again, sitting 21 films, watching all these movies, and going back to seeing what went down in Avengers in the when they take you back to the Battle of New York. They took us and made us want not care, but during the Dark World, him saying bye to his mom, that scene gets me every single time. Yes.
And then Steve getting to see Peggy one more time, and
exactly. Them saying their goodbyes.
Yeah, Tony getting to actually say goodbye to his dad, who he never got. Yeah,
just genius. And this is why it's so hard for me to pick Infinity War over Endgame, because they just mesh. It's one long move. I wanted to see Endgame right after Infinity War yesterday, but I knew we had to review Wolf of Wall Street, so I'm like, I gotta watch Wolf of Wall Street.
So it's funny for me. The first 2 Avengers films are so low on my list, and I know I have these other 2 Avengers films so high on my list. And I think the reason why I have Endgame above Infinity War is because Infinity War here's all the characters. Here's all your new characters interacting with all your old characters, and this big a mesh of fun that's going on. And then the end game is no, here's your original characters sprinkled in with some of the newer ones, and it's mostly about the old character, the original Six's story. Like you open with Hawkeye losing his family, and then it's Black Widow and it's Captain America having to deal with the Avengers, and Iron Man is just a total mess. And then Thor has gone into depression. Hulk is like had a midlife crisis almost. So
that's one thing that I can tell you. If I had to nitpick on what I hated about those films, is what they did to Hulk. And I said that during the 4-hour review. I hated it. I at least wanted some redemption. Okay, what you did in Infinity War, fine, I get it. The Thanos beat the shit out of the Hulk, I get it, fine. But with Endgame, give me some redemption. Give me like the Hulk is the Hulk. How are you gonna
save everybody?
I get it. I understand that part, but I want to. You know what, man? I want to see him smash some shit, man. I'm sorry. I want to see the Hulk smash some shit. So. No, man. That's one of the things that I really, some people are talking about, it doesn't make sense, time travel wise. I don't care about all that shit. My complaint was the way that they honestly portrayed Hulk in the second film. I hated it. I really didn't like that. And I hope we get some Hulk smashing shit soon, because we haven't really seen him kick that much ass since the first Avengers. I mean, granted, yeah, he did some shit in Age of Ultron, and I like what they did with him in Ragnarok. But even in Ragnarok, I felt like he was tamed.
What? Did you see what he did in the arena? And then when he's beating up that giant wolf. Okay, number 2 is Thor Ragnarok for me. Him beating up that giant wolf, and then there's even a joke about him smashing stuff when he jumps on the Surtur and he's trying to beat it up. Like, just for once in your life.
Right, that's true. That's true. I forgot about the Surtur part. You're right. All right, fine.
He is smashing in there. You did get to see some Hulk stuff in there. I thought he was the best Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. It's like the fun.
He was my favorite Hulk. Well, no, I want to say First Avenger, and then Thor Ragnarok.
I see. Ragnarok
in the original Avengers, when he said that big line where he goes, "I'm always angry," and he turns in the hole and he smashed.
Great moment, yeah.
Oh my god, that moment's amazing. And then when Cap looks at him, he goes, "Smash," and he smiles and he jumps on the building and he's just like slamming. When he grabs Loki and he's smashing him everywhere, dude. There's so many great moments in the first Avenger, and I feel like Hulk was the main reason why I have that movie so high up. Because I love his portrayal of Hulk. I want to say that that's one of the main, besides obviously seeing them team up for the first time, there's a scene that I freaking love, and it's more of a shot, right? Mm-hmm. Where Cap is fighting, where Iron Man's fighting Thor, and then Cap joins the fight, and they're in the forest, and it was after, huh? No, right before the Point Break scene. But in the forest where he smashes, where Thor is gonna smash, and he smashes Cap's shield and everything and they just stand there like the 3 of them, right? And it's one shot, the camera's panning out, and it's the 3 of them kind of like breathing heavy in the forest, and it's a dark shot, man. One of my favorite shots in the film, besides obviously the Avengers 360 circle thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and again, it goes back to that. I feel like the best Hulk we've ever gotten was in the first Avengers film. And I want to say Ragnarok was definitely second, because even with Age of Ultron, he kicked some ass, but just I don't know, man. I don't know if it was.
Thor Ragnarok makes fun of everything Hulk before. With Age of Ultron, sun's going down, sun's getting really low, and then also with Thor, for Thor to access the Avengers ship, his code name is Point Break. That's
strongest. Awesome. No, but strongest Avenger.
Yes,
strongest Avenger. And then Banner goes, strongest Avenger. Hello, Dr. Banner. I was like, man, this is great.
It's I can't wait for Thor Love and Thunder. Just because of Taika Waititi and what he's done with this entire cast, introducing Tessa Thompson into it, and Jeff Goldblum and Kate Blanchett. They had the perfect mix. And if it wasn't for Guardians of the Galaxy being just a perfect film in my eyes, this would be my number 1. So, I mean, I know your number 2 is what you can talk about now because my number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had we had this discussion a couple weeks ago too, which we have to get the Wolf of Wall Street. So we'll hit these next 2 kind of quick. But
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy to me, like I always say, it's the perfect mix of action, humor, heart, drama. It's just everything, emotion, everything you can ask from a movie going experience. Guardians gives to you at the 10th degree with every single level. Like I love everything about this film. Having it open with him watching his mother die and then taking us into a dance sequence of him listening to it on his Walkman, and then at the end you're expecting this big fight and you don't get that. You get a dance off. Like it's so smart the way they do it, introducing us to a raccoon and a tree and making those the most beloved characters. It's so perfect. So yeah, I love Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm kind of piggyback exactly because that's kind of my exact same sentiments on Guardians. But for me, what you just said was you were expecting this big battle at the end that you don't get. And that's funny enough what pissed me off about Iron Man 2, that we were waiting this big battle, right, with him and Whiplash, and that lasts all but 10 seconds when they both when Iron and I hated that. And it's garbage. Yeah. So why wasn't I pissed when Guardians did not the exact same thing, but something similar? We didn't get a big boss fight at the end of the film, right? It's just the way that the film was written, the characters, and it worked in that film, because, what would Star-Lord do in a situation like that, man?
Yeah.
Dance off, baby. The jailbreak.
Punch his way out of it? No, you're not going to punch your way out.
No, of course not. So that's why it's that for me. I don't know. Guardians. It teeter-totted, and they both came out the same year, which we know what my number 1 is. But before we discuss the number 1, the Guardians breakout scene where you see them team up for the first time, and it is
leading up to that too with Rocket saying, all right, I'm going to need 3 things for this. First, I'm going to need that Quantex battery up there, and then I'm going to need that guy's leg, and then I'm going to need the access pad on the guy's arms. And as he's explaining the mission, he goes, but here's the most important thing is that once you get the battery, it's gonna set off an alarm. So we need to
make sure in the background, just like reaching for it,
grabbing it, and pulls it out while Drax is in there and just holds it up. It's perfect from beginning to end. And then he goes back for his Walkman because that guy is up there listening to Escape the Pina Colada.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to get to your number 1, we'll hit that. Go ahead, man.
Which you already know, man. My number 1, Captain America: Winter Soldier. And it goes back to just saying the whole spy, espionage, seriousness of the film. And it, for me, and I know you don't agree, it was just a step up from any Marvel film that we had seen to date. All right? Again, I like serious movies. I like the seriousness of comic book films, even though, the lighthearted ones I love as well. But there's something about me and the more serious films where I tend to lean towards those a little bit more. And I said this during the 4-hour review. There are literally people that don't care about this universe, don't care about this world. My mom loves the Marvel universe, but I can't tell you that she's seen all 20-something films. My uncle doesn't like films like, he won't watch a Guardians of the Galaxy, as good as those movies are, but I've showed almost most of my family because I was so in awe with Winter Soldier, with the action sequences, the fighting, the hand-to-hand combat on the films. And believe it or not, I think I said this also last time, it has one of the most Easter eggs out of every Marvel film. There were so many things that were mentioned in that movie that were, it's just, they had the Leaper in the film, which was GSP, the UFC fighter in the beginning of the film. He's a villain in the comic book movie. They had the Leaper. They had your introduction to Crossbone, which was a wasted character in my opinion. They should have done a 4th Captain America film, Crossbones and him, and that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Or have Crossbone team up with not Zola, Zemo. That would have been awesome.
Yeah. My grievance with the film is I love the action. I love the character development. Everything with Black Widow, like who gets underrated, but she's gonna get her moment.
Which I can't wait. I
Yeah, I
can't wait.
can't wait. She's awesome in this film. Falcon, I think, is the best Falcon we see in any of these films.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely, 100%.
my grievance is the plot. I think the plot is a little too ridiculous for its own well-being because I told you about the guy Zoloff in the computer. I think is a little weird. It doesn't really work that way. Like, doesn't make sense. Like, the movie wants to take itself so seriously and ground itself, but then you're going to tell me a guy installed himself in a computer for all these years, and then their plan is they're going to launch 3 giant ships in the air that are just going to kill millions of people at a time. That's the plot. It just gets a little ridiculous for this grounded story that I thought we were telling, like of Captain America rediscovering Bucky. Like, maybe make the plot that Bucky's out killing targets and one of them is someone that's dearly close to Captain America, or maybe Black Widow's the target and he has to go protect her. Maybe Steve Rogers is the target, Nick Fury, all this stuff. I thought that would have been a better story, but it doesn't take away from the action itself, from everything going on with Steve Rogers' emotional journey. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate the film. I just, everyone seems to put it at number 1, and I just don't feel the same way. That's just my grievance, but everything else about it, I have a good time with.
I do, man. It was the first time we actually saw what the Russos can really do with an action film as well, and we got 4 great films out of them. You know, so no, I absolutely adore. I love that film, and it's the one that I go back to the most. And I love not touching it for a long time and revisiting it to see if I still feel the same way. So far, 10 out of 10 times, I feel the same way. I still hold it up there. Steph thinks I'm crazy because I think she kind of feels the same way about you with the film. Like her top is Ragnarok and Guardians. Those are her 1 and 2, and I want to say Endgame is her number 3. So you guys,
we have the same top
pretty similar top 3, yeah. But she was telling me the same. She goes, "Why do you hold it so?" She goes, "It's a good movie. I just don't understand why you love it as much as you do." And I'm like, I don't know. I think it was the way that I was able to, I guess, introduce the MCU to a lot of people that don't watch these movies. At least with my, I have a huge family, so for them to be, I was like, "Hey, here, watch this." And I remember one time when the movie came out, I bought it, and it was like a Sunday at my grandma's, and a bunch of my uncles were there, and they're like, "Hey, you have any movies here that we can watch?" And I put on Winter Soldier. It's probably one of the best memories ever because they were all. My family doesn't shut up during movies. That's why I don't watch movies with them. They were all so quiet. You know, we had a couple of my uncles like, "Oh my God, what an exaggeration! That shield's gonna block a freaking missile," like, you know, things like that. I'm like, dude, it's a comic book movie at the end of everything. But then you get when the credits rolled, they were like, "Dude, that was a great movie." They're like, "What other ones are like?" I'm like, "Oh, watch Iron Man, watch this, watch that." But I feel like that's the one that will grab an MCU fan and care for the future of the MCU. Because right after Winter Soldier dropped, we had the complete opposite film, of not taking itself so seriously. We're in space. We have, like you said, a talking raccoon and a talking tree, and people gravitated towards Guardians and loved it. And that's where I felt like the MCU really did blow up, where everybody was like, I need to go see these films, So 2014 was a hell of a year for the MCU.
So that's our rankings, guys. It's
I don't want to talk MCU on the show ever again until Black Widow comes out.
Yeah, so maybe like one. So we pick one film a week, but I could see some of these films squeezing through and being their own show. It might be a little while though, guys. So but let's get to that. So this week we decided to go with biopics as our choices, and there was 6 choices up there. There's like stuff like Malcolm X. The Social Network got no votes again. Which pisses me off. You know what? I'm gonna make an executive decision one day, and we're just gonna do the Social Network, and you guys are gonna listen.
Is this the second time that it gets
it lost twice now?
Lost, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, I completely forgot we had it for 2010 films, right?
Yeah, you guys just not 2010, which we just did top 10 for the website. Social Network's number 1, so you can take it there. But. Yeah, you guys just completely overlooked that. What else was there? There was it was your choice.
I know. Okay, so we had Malcolm X, Social Network. We had I, Tonya.
Okay.
We had what else did we have? I chose. The hell did I choose? Because you chose Wolf of Wall Street was one of them.
I had Wolf. Yeah.
Oh, Straight Outta Compton. I
Yeah.
had picked Straight Out and Hidden Figures. Those
Okay.
were.
So Straight Outta Compton was tied for second place with, I believe, it wasn't. It was not Malcolm X. Oh man, I think it was I Tanya. I Tanya. I think. So, but Wolf of Wall Street won handily. So let's get to that. Wolf of Wall Street was our choice for biopics. It wasn't. We didn't get to talk about Malcolm X or Tanya Harding or Mark Zuckerberg. We're talking about Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort, man.
I never thought this would be the first biopic we do, but let me tell you, man, when this film came out in 2013, I already loved it. And I've watched it every single year since it's come out, and it's gotten better and better and better with every rewatch. I think I'll say it right now, it's in my top 5 favorite films of all time. And I think it's the most entertaining film of all time because from start to finish, I care about I want to see the stockbroker's journey from just a young guy who's got this bright-eyed, bushy tail.
Innocent, dude,
He's
man.
so innocent. Yeah, there's Wall Street. I can't wait. He walks in, everyone's saying, motherfucker, cocksucker, throwing things out there. And then to see him fall, to rise again, to at the top, to fall again. It's such a fascinating journey. Martin Scorsese, who I will give crap to all the time. Not for this movie, because this movie to me is his best. I know people love Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas too.
Goodfellas is my favorite.
This is my favorite, Martin.
It's in my top 3. Wolf of Wall Street is in my top 3, and I know it's bizarre to say because he has so many great films in my opinion. But you know what's crazy? That you say you've seen this movie every year since 2013. So I mean, 7 years that this movie's come out. You've seen this movie obviously more than 7 times, but you see it at least once a year. I hadn't seen this movie in maybe a year, maybe 2. I'm not sure. However, that film was so great and so well directed and so well written that I feel like if you see it once, it just sticks with you. Yes. You don't forget that film. Because I can mention random scenes. You're like, oh, yeah. And there's certain films where I'll watch one time. I mean, my memory works differently, but there's certain films where I'll watch something and you'll mention something. I'm like, oh, I don't remember that scene. What are you talking about? And then you'll have to kind of walk me to what got there. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember now. But I feel like Wolf of Wall Street, the first time that I saw it, I felt like I've seen that movie a million times, right?
I would say my freshman year of college, this movie was already a phenomenon. This was late 2015, my freshman year at college. I remember I was on campus and I met up with these people and we were sitting in their dorm room and they're like, let's put on the Wolf of Wall Street. And every single time we see boobs, we take a shot. And I was gone by maybe a third of the way through the film.
Well, thank God you didn't do it when they were saying the F word.
No, you can't do that.
You would have been dead.
You can't. That is suicide.
Do you know it has
I kind of just want to go through. Oh, go ahead.
No, it has the Guinness record for most F-bombs in a film. It's insane. And yesterday I was watching, I was trying to count. I was like, no, I can't count.
I just read this today. This film was mostly improvised. So that was a lot of the cast. That wasn't the script. That was a lot of the cast just dropping F-bombs like crazy. I love how this movie starts with them throwing the short person onto the target. And then he's like, my name is Jordan Belfort. There's lines I picked up in this rewatch. I'm a former member of the middle class. Just to show the arrogance of him right away.
No, super arrogant. And this is the thing. We're on a journey, and it's kind of like Goodfellas, where we're on a journey with, he's not a good guy. He's not a villain per se, but he's
a terrible person.
He's a terrible person. He's despicable. He really is a despicable person, Yeah. And we are on this journey with him, and we care so much of what happens to him. And, obviously we know there's going to have, what he does has, repercussions and all that stuff. And it's crazy to me how Scorsese has done that. And he does that over and over again, where we're following mobsters that we care about, or, just not good people to society. you know,
Mhm.
but we're still there. And this is one of the films, let me tell you, that, you know, you can say, oh, DiCaprio is a great actor, because he is. He's a fantastic guy. He's one of the best working actors today. But this is one of the few where I'm like, oh, it's Leonardo DiCaprio playing a character. No, I saw Jordan Belfort, because I know DiCaprio doesn't act the way that this man did, you know, in this film. You know, and
Um,
even go ahead.
yeah, well, DiCaprio was so passionate about making this film happen. So he read this book and immediately said he wanted to play Jordan Belfort. He produced the film. He won the bidding rights to the film against another actor, Brad Pitt, which I didn't read about till today. That him and
I had
Brad
no idea about that.
Pitt.
You're dropping some knowledge on me right now,
I
man.
was reading up on this because I love this film so much. I was reading up on it. So him and Brad Pitt were bidding for the rights to this film. Could you imagine Brad Pitt playing Jordan Belfort? It'd be different.
It'd be
But
a different film. I know there was another director that wasn't supposed to be Scorsese, that was supposed to helm this, and it fell on Scorsese. Scorsese fought for it, couldn't get it. Did Hugo, fell on it while Hugo, it was a bidding war during, I think, Shutter Island, if I'm not mistaken. That much I know. So it was a bidding war during Shutter Island, if I'm not mistaken. Then they couldn't get it. He did Hugo, and then right after Hugo, he managed to get it back. But I know there was another director that was supposed to get this film that wasn't Scorsese, and let me tell you, I don't think this film would have worked without Scorsese's vision or direction.
Crazy to me, it wasn't just Scorsese in this film. So the scene of this is such an interesting nugget that I read today. The scene of Steve Madden going up to talk, and they're all like booing him and kicking him off, and then DiCaprio goes up there and gives this speech. Spielberg came to set that day.
What?
Spielberg co-directed that entire day, telling the crowd what kind of reactions to put in, camera angles, stuff like that. The Scorsese admitted that Spielberg basically co-directed that entire day, which is also one of the best scenes in the movie. Is the whole, I want you to, I want to pick up the phone and start dialing. Like, are you
running your credit card? Steve Madden down their customer's throat. Yeah, man.
And if you can't do it, then you need to just get your ass out of here and go work at fucking McDonald's, because that's all you're ever gonna be good for. Yeah. It just go ahead.
Every time that man was on the mic. Yes. Every time that man was on the mic. And it's crazy that I was like, yeah, like I was part of that crowd. Like, if he was talking to me, man. The first time I saw that movie, I remember that I was like, man, I gotta, how am I gonna get the get rich quick scheme? Like, how am I gonna be able to do this and live this life? Because
Go ahead. Yeah. So my favorite scene, which I just want to get to right away, is towards the beginning of the film, and it has to do with Matthew McConaughey. When Leonardo DiCaprio gets introduced to Matthew McConaughey, it's kind of like his inspiration for the rest of the film. And this scene has so much going on in it, from them sitting down and McConaughey's doing the chest beating. That's a voice exercise that Matthew McConaughey does before the scene, and he was just going with it. And you could see DiCaprio kind of look off screen, and that looking off screen is to Scorsese kind of saying, like, should I go along with it, or what are we doing here? And Scorsese's telling him, like, hey, just go with it. McConaughey has so many great lines in this one scene that it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the film.
And exactly that. I remember when I first saw it, because when you watch the trailer, he's in the movie. They actually show that he's in the film, and he's in the movie for no more than 10 minutes. But he sets that tone and basically sets the arc of what we're gonna see Jordan become, which is phenomenal for me. That he had such an impact in this film. When you're in the movie, you're not in the movie. Like, from minute 11 and on, you're not in the film. You're not even mentioned anymore. And that's how impacting he was.
He takes McConaughey's morals and takes him up to another degree. So, like, McConaughey tells him, or when they first sit down, DiCaprio's like, yeah, I just want to, be able to really help the company and put money into the client's pockets. And he cuts him off right there.
Cuts him off, yeah. And he goes, it's important in your pocket. He goes, yeah, but if we can make money for them, that's good too. And he goes, yeah, okay, whatever. Telling him that, he needs cocaine to survive. The movie's very explicit, so we're gonna get a little explicit here. Telling him that he has to masturbate, that he needs to up those rookie numbers. You need to up them up, And let me tell you, this movie is so wild. And as you're watching it, as I was watching it, I'm like, did this really all happen? You know, because it's so bizarre. Like, I can't believe that this man isn't dead of the amount of drug. Man, the first 5 minutes in this movie, he's sniffing blow from a hooker's butt, man. Like, you're
Yeah.
like, what the hell am I watching? Now it goes along with this, and I don't know whoever's watching if they feel the exact same way or not. But do you feel like this movie's a little misogynistic?
No, I don't. Because we get to this Margot Robbie, who I just think the world of. I think Margot Robbie's
So do
incredible.
I. So do
Um,
I.
so her big scene in this is her nude scene, which we could talk about the whole lead up to it, about how they first meet at the party, and then he calls her and all this stuff. Um, the reason why I say it's not misogynistic is because Scorsese insisted that she wear a robe, and Margot Robbie insisted, no, I'm going to go nude for this because this woman uses her body to get what she wants in life. And I'm not going to hold back on that. Margot Robbie there's a whole scene where they're having sex on a bed of money, and Margot Robbie got tons of paper cuts in her back, but she held on to it. I think if this movie is misogynistic, you would hear Margot Robbie outspoken about some of the things. So she
Yeah.
wouldn't even done it.
Well, I didn't mean it more. I meant it more toward. Okay, I guess I mean the audience. Do you feel? Do you feel? Maybe it's the wrong choice of words, but I feel that more guys gravitate to loving this film than girls, and I'll tell you why. My girlfriend upstairs, we were watching it last night, and she kind of made like a I don't want to see it, and I'm like, it's such a great movie. And she likes a lot of. She's watching Heat right now upstairs with. So, and she loves, like I said, she adores the MCU. Loves, like, she's just, when it comes to films, like, she likes, like, action films are her favorite, action and comedy. But she loves, like, Die Hard, and she loves True Lies, and she loves, like, action-packed films. But with this movie yesterday, I kept noticing that she was bored, and that she just kind of was, like, looking at me like, and right when we fell asleep, she goes, "Why do you like this movie? Like, what is it about this film that you think it's so great?" She goes, I don't get it. And she's not the first person that tells me that. And I feel like this is. I know there's women out there that like it, because I have some friends that I know they definitely like it, but I feel like this is more of a guy film.
We could bring this I think this goes to a larger conversation. I think this goes for most of Scorsese filmography. It mostly, I don't think it's misogynistic, but I think he tends to make films that are very skewed to entertain the male audience. It's when you talk to people who love Scorsese, it's all men.
Yeah.
Goodfellas. There are people who say Goodfellas is their favorite film of all time. It's mostly men.
It was my favorite film of all time. The Dark Knight knocked it down, and that's just because of completely different experience in the theater. But Goodfellas is my number 2. I absolutely adore that film.
Do you see women going back to watch Raging Bull? Do you see women going back to watch Mean Streets, Casino? No.
Oh, my girlfriend hates Casino. She hates Casino.
The men.
Yeah, Steph hates Casino. She can't stand it. She hates Sharon Stone's character so much that it ruins the film for her, she says. She hates it. She hates Ginger.
He's not strong on female characters. He's really not, which is why I think this is a little bit of a turn, because Margot Robbie is a strong female character in this. Which this is a question I want to bring up to you: is Naomi? Is she a gold digger?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. She's a gold digger, and I didn't really pick that up until this last watch, where what is she?
She never really loved him.
No, absolutely not. And at the end, she kind of. It was right before, it gets serious, because he hits her in the stomach, and he tries to take the daughter. But she says something that kind of leads to that, where it's kind of, but she doesn't say, like, "Oh, you're going." I know it had to do with her hearing that he was going to jail and all that stuff. But definitely a gold digger, man.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really pick that up until, honestly, like, this watch, and I don't know why, but I was obviously really, like, in the film, trying to get things. I even saw it with subtitles to make sure I was reading everything. And there's, God, I wish I would have written that down, man. But there's something that implies her saying, like, hey, you're done, and so are we, and I'm not gonna hold you down while you're in jail because there's nothing. And then she even tells him like, oh, when she's like, I'm gonna take the kids from you, and if you divorce me at this very moment right now, I'll give you visitation rights. And you're gonna need the money because lawyers are gonna take the money. You're not gonna have any much more money left over. Like,
Yeah.
all that for me was like, I was like, man, those are red flags, dude. Like, even before that, you should have seen this shit coming, you know?
And she should have been arrested because I noticed this too. The scene where they're taping money to John Bernthal's
She was
girlfriend,
there.
she's
Yeah.
there watching it happen. She's accessory to it. But when they first meet, not when they first meet, but the second time they meet after the party, she's already got her eyes on him after she meets him with her boyfriend, and then they meet up for dinner. She's so quick to move on from that boyfriend. It's not even funny. As they're sitting at that dinner table, she goes, "Why'd you call me up?" And he goes,
Oh, I want to be friends.
and he goes, "Can married people not be friends?" And she goes, "We're not.
We're not going to be friends." Exactly.
And in his mind, he's saying to himself, like, "How do I get up to this girl's room?" And I got a text from my wife to go home. She's already knows what she wants to do to him.
She invites him over for tea, dude. Like, she's just like, he didn't say anything. It was her like, "Hey, do you want to come up for tea or something?" And I'm like, oh my god, like, and 100% gold digger, dude. And let me tell you, she nails that. She nails that. I don't think there's anyone in this film that doesn't nail their part, man.
Jonah Hill. Let's get to Jonah Hill because
that's where we're going. I was going Jonah Hill, man. That's another one that I didn't see. Jonah Hill. He was Donnie. He was this sick son of a bitch that married his cousin, and just ludicrous dude, man. Just the drug intake, the way when he first sees Naomi. Like, that scene is absurd, man. That's crazy stuff.
Every time he plays on drugs and intoxicated better than DiCaprio does, I think, in this film. And that's saying something because DiCaprio is fantastic at doing this. But I read some facts about Jonah Hill too. He wanted to. He cared about the character Donnie so much that Scorsese wanted to have a meeting with him. And Jonah Hill insisted on auditioning for this part because he wanted to prove that he's the most perfect person for this role. And then he wanted to work for Scorsese so badly that he took the SAG minimum of $60,000 to work on this film. Meanwhile, DiCaprio got paid $25 million for this film. So that just shows you how much Jonah Hill cared about being in this role. And it really worked out for him because he got an Oscar nomination out of this. Everything from when we first get introduced to Jonah Hill, when he's like, "Hey, is that your car out there?" And he's like, "You got paid $72,000 last month. You show me a pay stub for $72,000.
You show me a pay stub right now. I quit my job right now. I work for you." So good, man.
Yes,
so good. And I love how it cuts. And the next thing is like, hey, I quit. Yeah. And he goes, "No, you don't need to tell her about it. It's not none of her business." And the just the dynamic. One of my favorite scenes is when they're sitting in the dining room and he's introducing who would be the next crowd of Stratton Oatman. And when he tells them to sell a pen and he gives it to John Barathon, and then he tells him, he goes, "Sell me this pen." And then no one else could do it. And he gives it to John Barathon. Barathon goes, "Hey, I need you to sign that paper on a napkin very quick." He's like, "I don't have a pen. Here you go. Supply and demand, make them want it." Yes. Oh my God, that was awesome, dude.
Bernthal's great in this too. And you want to throw just so many. Rob Reiner is so great as his father. Great. When we get introduced to him, he's like, "Who the fuck is calling it at 9:30 at night when the equalizer's on?" And he's like, "Hello, chap."
Hello, right, yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I love that. So that's the introduction to Rob Reiner in this movie, and it was like, boom. It's just everything about this film is just so full throttled, and you're so engaged. I can't say enough how much I love this movie, man. And another thing that I want to talk about is, you mentioned, Jonah Hill wanting to get be on this movie, and then it worked out in his favor because he got an Oscar nom for everything. Do you feel that DiCaprio deserved to win for this film versus Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, I was just looking it up. It was McConaughey who won. Yeah. McConaughey completely deserved the Oscar. Absolutely. That's an Oscar-winning role right there. This is DiCaprio's best role, by far. And you could see it and just how committed he was to this character. I don't think he's been as committed to a character as he was until recently with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought he was really committed to that. But this one,
I saw Once Upon a Time this week also. That's another rewatch.
Those might
It's so
be his
great.
best performances.
It's so great. It's such a great film, and it just it gets better with every watch. It really does. But again, we'll talk that another time.
I think he has so here's some of the lines that I think I always go back to that stick out to me when I think of this film. When he's at the penny stock place for the first time and he's on the phone talking and pitching the stock, he finds out that 50% commission goes to them, and everyone starts looking at him as he's talking. The line that I remember from that is, "Never ask me about my winners, ask me about my losers because I have so few." That's how you pitch yourself to anyone in a job interview, right there.
And he's like this, like waiting, and then he goes, yeah, like the way that, and then I love when he hangs up, and this guy is like, "How the fuck did you do that?"
And then when he's teaching all his guys how to talk over the phone, he says, "Give them to me young, hungry, and stupid, and I'll make them rich." Like, you see how cocky he becomes from there on out. It's just so many things, man. How quickly he left his first wife.
Like that.
He catches him cheating. The next voiceover here is, "I felt horrible. 3 days later, I filed for divorce. Naomi into the apartment." Like, just that's it. Right, move on. I want this hard.
Oh my god, yeah, bro. I mean, do you blame him, dude?
Something else I love about this is the fourth wall breaking. As he's through the office and he's like talking about IPOs and he's telling us what an IPO is, and then he just breaks it up and he goes, "You don't give a shit about any of this. The point of this was, is it legal?" Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna mention. And I love the narration of the film because a lot of Scorsese films do have the narration, but the fourth wall break for me was the best part. How he's talking to us, he's telling us a story, and he's just like, and even when one of the funniest lines for me is when he gets in with Naomi, and he's like, "And I fucked the shit out of her for 11 seconds."
Yeah.
It's so good, man, and it's such a funny movie too. I'm cracking up watching this movie left and right.
You know what else is one of my favorite scenes? Is another person I want to talk about is Kyle Chandler. Got to represent. He's obviously the most famous Kyle out there. You got to represent us Kyles. The yacht scene where he invites them up on the yacht. DiCaprio says the line that I think defines Jordan Belfort's character the most, and it is when he's talking about his boat, and he goes, "When you sail on a boat built for a Bond villain, sometimes you need to play the fucking part."
Bond villain, yeah.
But Kyle Chandler in that scene is so fucking good because I don't see DiCaprio give off that he's bribing an officer, but Chandler is playing him from the moment he steps on this boat.
From the moment he steps onto that boat, he already knows who he's dealing with, and that's why I love that scene so much as well.
I believe him though. I believe that he's like starting to fall. Like, yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to get this thing. Like, I just dropped on my desk, and half of it is these Wall Street guys. They want to get all of them, but man, my job kind of sucks. And I got to ride my ass home on the subway every single day. And then he's slowly driving him. Yeah.
When he stops him, right, and he goes, "Can you say that one more time, just like you said it?" He goes, "Just like you said it." Yeah. And then he turns around. Oh my god, dude! I'm like, bro, this guy the whole time he's like, you're thinking that this guy's getting played, and he's not, man. He's not getting played. Like, he knows exactly who he's doing.
And then Belfort lashes out like a child, and he steps onto the top. He's like, "Hey, look, I found my pocket, a year's salary." Yes.
Yeah, man.
Another scene that I loved the most, out of all my rewatches, I love this one the most I've had before, which is John Bernthal and Jonah Hill. Their meet up with each other when Jonah Hill's going to give him his money. And he gets out acting like he's all fucked up and all this. And he's like, just playing with you. And Jonah Hill does not let up the entire time, just pissing off Bernthal so much.
And it's the type of character that Donnie was, man. Or is. I don't know what's going on with him, obviously. But he just never let up. And he is also another character, a definition of zero fucks given. Because he did not, the way he ate that guy's goldfish when he was cleaning he just did not care, even the sarcasm back and forth that he was giving Rob Reiner when they were talking about the expenses on the dinner.
Yeah.
Yo, it's so great. It was so great, man.
$22,000 on one dinner. Well, I got all the sides.
Yeah, he goes, what do they do? Cure cancer? He goes, that's actually why they were expensive. They did cure cancer. Bro, that back and forth was so
DiCaprio
good.
was like, shut the fuck up. You're gonna piss me
Yeah,
off.
no. And it's funny because it's kind of like how you would tell your best friend, you know, yo, dude, shut up while you're talking to my father. You know, like it's just, bro, it's so great, man.
Yeah.
There's another thing that I wanted to touch on. What the hell was it?
I got an unanswerable question. So when the boat's crashing, they're on the yacht and the yacht's crashing. And Shea Wiggum's the captain, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Where's Jonah Hill's wife during all this? I have no idea. Was she not on set that day? Is she just drowning in the bottom, or is she on the roof where everything falling off? Like, because when that wave hits and it goes,
no, when they're going down like that and the glass breaks.
Yeah,
there's no way that she's sleeping it off or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's on the plane dancing to what I hear this song so many times in movies, and it's Gloria. Which every time it kicks in, you always get locked back into the film, and you see the plane crash that was supposed to come rescue them. And he utters the line, "I will not die sober." That's another one of the things that defines the film. Yeah, there's just so many great.
Oh, okay, no, I remember now. We haven't talked about it. The lemon scene.
Okay, yeah.
With the lewds, all right. Well, obviously, great acting. The whole thing. The first conversation between him and the PI, where he's telling him, you know, where he's trying to finish the sentence. He's like, "What did you just say?" And but not only that, when he says that he got home, you know, without a scratch or anything like that. But the back and forth with him and Jonah Hill in that scene was perfection, dude.
Yeah. So they wanted to move the island in the middle of the kitchen. I read this today too. They want the island in the middle of the kitchen where Jonah Hill's on the phone with the Swedish guy and he's talking about how much money they made. And DiCaprio comes in, he's reaching over the island, get off the phone! Get off the phone! Jonah Hill just acting like an idiot, man. And then as he's choking, DiCaprio looks up and sees Popeye on. And he got, I'm going to take cocaine. And he stands up and he goes, ah!
And he starts banging his chest.
Yes. It's so good, man.
It's so good. And that's what I feel like. When I saw that movie for the first time, I didn't know if it was hype or what it was. When I saw that scene, I was like, bro, why doesn't this man have an Oscar? Mm-hmm. Because that is a tough scene to do. And
just rolling down the stairs,
and trying to open the door, dude. It's not easy. It's not easy. So
that was one take. DiCaprio insisted on doing that, and he strained his back during that one take. So that's why they couldn't do anymore, and it works. It absolutely works.
That's incredible. See, the one thing I didn't do to prepare myself for today is read little fun facts. I usually do that before I talk about a film.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it today because I had the kids all day. Like the kids literally left 15 minutes before we started recording. Sorry, but I had such a great time rewatching this film because I felt like it had been a while. Again, once you pop it in, you know exactly what scene is next, what scenes to come, because it's just one of those movies that just sticks to your brain and doesn't. I don't feel like it's not a forgettable film by any means. But one thing that I did notice was I never thought in a million years that it wasn't that, you know, I felt for a long time that anybody who saw this film loved it, you know. But then obviously Steph didn't have a great time with it, and then I let my aunt borrow it like 2 weeks ago, and she was just telling me, she goes, it's really like heavy. It's a really R-rated film that I'm probably just not used to. She goes, I'm not used to all the drugs and the sex in the movies. She's like, it's nonstop and the cussing and all that stuff. It's a hard art.
It's a commitment to sit down because it is 3 hours. This is a long ass film. I remember looking at the back of the box yesterday when I went to put it in and saying 179 minutes. That can't be true. I don't remember it being that long, but whatever. It flies by for me.
It's the fastest 3 hour long movie in my opinion, next to Endgame.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with you,
goes right
I don't feel the length of this film. In fact, when I was watching it last night, I'm like, oh man, we're at the boat scene already. You know, like it's almost over. And when I look, obviously at the clock, it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh my god, you
Yeah.
know, it
Um, I got one more question that I want to get your opinion on. Then we can ask like a couple of who won the movie and stuff like that. Then we'll wrap it up. At the end, you see Kyle Chandler sitting on the subway, going home, and he reads the paper, puts it down. He's just kind of looking back and forth. Do you think he has second thoughts about not taking Belford's offer?
That's what I thought about it today when I saw it today. Well, yeah, technically today. When I saw it, I was like, I wonder if this guy was like, this guy could have made like I'm here. I am. I busted this guy. Now what? Now what? You
Just
know, I
another
continue
case.
my regular life, and this guy maybe had I taken some money, I wouldn't be taking this subway home. But I felt like it was because the way he looks around, I'm like, this guy has to have some sort of regret or like something, some
Yeah.
sort of remorse of not taking that money, man. Because
I think Kyle Chandler is the most underappreciated member of this cast because this watch really locked it in for me that he is hitting at the same level as DiCaprio and Hill are, just in a different type of role.
and the thing is that he's not in the films too much.
No,
He's very seldom in the film. So we're obviously getting DiCaprio in our face and Jonah Hill in our face and Margot Robbie in our face. 'Cause even Barathol is barely in the film at all. But some people turn to remember his and it was for me what locked it in for me was literally yesterday. The yacht scene, which I've seen. I know I've seen the movie enough to remember that scene. There was nothing new. The only thing that I really picked up was like this guy knew from the moment he stepped on that yacht that who he was dealing with, and I love that this guy never let up. The way he was even acting, like, oh yeah, and then he goes, "Did you just bribe a federal off?" That whole thing for me was fantastic, man.
So let's do some of these categories. Who's the sharpshooter in this film? And who's the heat check performance that kind of steps in, does a couple scenes, and is out of there, but leaves the biggest impression?
Matthew McConaughey.
That's my pick too. He's
Yeah, Matthew
usually it.
McConaughey.
There's a lot of
Like I
contenders.
said, he set up the character arc for the next 2 hours and 45 minutes of that film.
Yeah.
We got what McConaughey told him to be is what we got in this film.
Yes.
And again, he's in the movie for 10 minutes, but he definitely cemented his character. He got there, he took care of business, and he was out. McConaughey, hands down.
I think there's a couple contenders too. I think Rob Reiner is a contender. I think John Bernthal is a contender. But to me, McConaughey far and away, like he almost steals this movie if it wasn't
crazy.
Great. Like DiCaprio has to put in his best performance to keep McConaughey from being the thing you remember the most. So, what's the best scene in the film?
Oh man.
Okay, so here's some contenders then. You have I'm not fucking leaving when he's doing the speech, and they're all like, yeah. You have Steve Madden's speech. You have the yacht scene with Kyle Chandler. You have what my pick is the Matthew McConaughey scene at the beginning with the chest beating. Those are some of my contenders. There's so many. There's the Naomi scene where they first go on a date and hook up with each other.
Yeah. No, see, so for me, I love the lewd scene. Like I said, that was the Quaalude scene for me is up there. It's definitely up there. I love the Steve Madden. No, not the Steve Madden. I'm sorry. I do love that speech, but beforehand, the him saying goodbye, and when he's talking about, I forget her name, Kimberly, I think it's her name. That he's like,
that works for him.
Yeah, and then the way that he's like, she came in here and she didn't have two nickels to rub together. She was 3 months behind on rent, and I just saw that hunger, and I gave her the job. And she goes, "You asked me for a job," and I gave her the job, but she asked me for $5,000 in advance. He goes, "What did I do?" And she's quiet. He goes, "What did I do?" And then she goes, "You signed me a check for $2,500." Her tears are coming out, obviously, because she's grateful for him. And then he goes, and look at her now. She goes to the Bahamas. Oh no, well, she said that before. She goes to the Bahamas on vacation during the summertime. The Hamptons, oh no, the Bahamas on the wintertime, Hamptons in the summertime. And he's just this, character that you don't see her in the film, but those couple sentences, you already see, you envision what type of life she has. So she has a used Mercedes, but she didn't have that if it wasn't for me, type shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the way that she just goes, I fucking love you, Jordan. Like you just feel that. And then it's him telling how much he loves him. And then he goes with a, you know what? It is what it is. They're going to need a wrecking ball to get me the hell out of here. They need to bring the SWAT in here to just that. And it comes back to when I told you that the first time you see this movie, you get so pumped. You feel like, Matthew McConaughey watching this film, man. And that is one of my favorite scenes as well. That whole "I'm not fucking leaving" thing. But what led to that conversation, how he was saying, like, they're making me, step down and this and that and that. All it's just, there's so many great memorable scenes in this film, man.
Mm-hmm. Mine's McConaughey's scene at the beginning, because he is batting at another level that I've never seen. I think this might even be like McConaughey's most standout role, because he steps in there and he's now, knowing that this movie is mostly improv, he's just firing out lines that sit with me so well. Like, if you don't do cocaine, and you're gonna split your equilibrium and tip the fuck over, stuff like that. Or you're talking about fugazi, it doesn't matter. It's all
so good, man.
So fun. And then the chest beating. I know when I was in high school and this movie came out, kids were doing that in high school. They beating their chest all the time. I know people still do it.
I saw this movie late too, a little FF. Like us, we're usually opening weekend guys. We see whatever we want to see on opening weekend, Yeah. And I slept on this movie opening week. I didn't see it until like 3 weeks after it came out. And it wasn't for my uncle that barely goes to the movie theater. Went and he called me right away. Like, he saw it like at 2 p.m. He calls me and he's like, "Have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?" And I was like, no, I haven't. And then he goes, "That's the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life." And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "Your aunt loved it." He's like, "Imagine." And she doesn't like anything. So he's like, it is long as hell, so make sure you see it early. And he goes, "I don't understand." He goes, "It better win Best Picture, better be nominated." He goes, "I don't know how these movies work." Then he goes, "Have the Oscars passed?" I was like, "No." He goes, "I guarantee you this movie's gonna win a Best Picture." Like, that's how like pumped he was when he left this movie.
Yeah. And then it went a single thing, which is, kind of Scorsese's legacy in the Oscars.
Yeah, it really is
great, and doesn't get anything for it. I forgot like a line that sits with me in this film for some reason, is when he says, "I've been a rich man and I've been a poor man, and I choose rich every single time.
fucking time.
At least when you have problems, you're pulling up in your BMW or your Mercedes and your $40,000
suit." Yeah. Oh no, the watch and the suit. Yeah, dude.
Like, I love that line, because you know what? When people have always said, "Oh, money can't buy you happiness. Money can't buy you happiness," I just to me, that's always been like, that's bullshit. Like, no,
it is bullshit.
It is bullshit. Buy me happiness. What are you talking about? And he kind of says what I'm thinking. Like, you're gonna have problems, rich and poor, but at least when you're rich, your problems, you still are living comfortable.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you 100%.
One more question is, who won the movie?
So hard to say, man. For me, it's DiCaprio, obviously, but you can't take that away from Jonah Hill as well. He was right there with, But if I had to pick one, I'd honestly give it to DiCaprio. I strongly feel that this is DiCaprio's best performance. I don't think he should have won for The Revenant. I think this is the movie that he should have won for. I felt like The Revenant was, I'm sorry we didn't give it to you because of Wolf of Wall Street or Django, because he had done Django and then he did this right after, if I'm not mistaken, right? Those were his movies back to back. And they were both Oscar-worthy nomination. He should have won for Django. They didn't give it to Django. They didn't give it to him for Django, which is fine because it's not his best performance, but it was his best performance, in my opinion, to date. And then he comes back, bats 1,000 with this movie, and he still gets snubbed. So when I see The Revenant, no, I know, which was it's a fucking disgrace, to be honest with you, because he should have. He's the best thing besides Christoph Waltz in that movie.
And that's why, because he would have been a supporting actor and Christoph Waltz took that role instead. It kind of sucks, but I go DiCaprio too. but there's so many different routes you could take. Like, oh, maybe Margot Robbie won the movie because it's like launched her career to where it is today, or Jonah Hill because this is his best role. But it's DiCaprio, and it's him. If you want to talk about like Apex Mountain, who is at the top of their game here in this film, it's DiCaprio. This is his. I think this is his #1 movie. Like,
this is his best performance, at least for me.
Yeah.
I like other films that he's been in better, but you don't agree with me. But I like The Departed more than I like Wolf of Wall Street. But it's just because I like those type of films more. I know you don't. But performance-wise, I feel like this is his best performance, hands down.
Yeah.
And I always go back to when I talk about snubs, I feel like this is one of the bigger snubs that we've gotten. I love Dallas Buyers Club, and I think that movie's fantastic. And the weight loss and what the transition that Matthew McConaughey did in that film is nothing. He does deserve it's well deserved. I just feel like DiCaprio kind of like edges it out a little bit, man. Like,
this isn't Rami Malek beating Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, you know? This, like, it's not like the person who won didn't deserve to win. No, in this case they did. I think you can have a discussion for supporting actor though, because Jared Leto also won for Dallas Buyers Club that year, which he's good in that one. I don't think he's better than
he's not. He's not better than Jonah Hill in this film. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you someone who I think should have won for that. Michael Fassbender for 12 Years a Slave. He is scary.
Such a son of a bitch. He's such a son of a bitch in that movie, man.
Yeah. So I don't think,
I don't revisit that movie too often because it's a hard watch. But Fassbender for me in that movie was just like, it's a side that I don't ever want to see in any character. Like, I don't, but he just played it so well.
Yeah. That was a tough year for most.
There's so many great films that year, man.
Well, the thing is, the narrative was going into that year is that 12 Years a Slave is going to win it. It is easy. This is it. And it kind of rode that momentum the entire time, which is kind of a done deal by the time you got to the Oscars. So you miss out on so many great performances. Yeah, McConaughey got his for Wolf, or not for Wolf, for Dallas Buyers Club, but he's up against DiCaprio, Chiwetel Ejiofor for 12 Years a Slave, Christian Bale for American Hustle, and then who was the last guy?
Wasn't it Tom Hanks for Captain Phillips?
Tom Hanks did not get nominated.
Oh, he didn't get nominated. The movie got nominated, right?
Oh, who am I missing? It's someone big. Bruce Stern for Nebraska.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and then the movies that came out there, you have American Hustle.
Wait, by the way, not to get off topic here, but I loved his little scene in Once Upon a Time, dude.
It's fun. Yeah, it is.
It's funny, man. It's really funny. I forgot completely that he was in that film.
That scene is too. I think Scorsese got snubbed for Best Director in this film. They give it to Alfonso Cuarón for Gravity. I'm not a fan of Gravity.
I hate that movie.
I don't like that.
I hate that movie. I think that movie's so boring. Yeah. And it was so overhyped. That is, when they mention overhyped films, that is literally one of the first movies that I mentioned.
Yes.
And it's such a short film, and it feels eternal for me. It feels like it's 3 hours long.
Movies where whatever can go wrong is gonna go wrong, and every single time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just over, and something goes wrong, and something goes wrong. I'm like, well, dude, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, you feel trapped, and all he's doing is directing Sandra Bullock in that film. George Clooney's in and out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it's just Sandra, and you're like, man, I'm just not as entertained as I am in The Wolf of Wall Street or 12 Years a Slave. What else? Who else is nominated Best Director? Alexander Payne for Nebraska, David O. Russ for American Hustle, Scorsese for Wolf of Wall Street, and Steve McQueen for 12 Years a Slave. I would have given to almost any one of them. Maybe not Alexander Payne, but anyone.
No, I didn't like Nebraska too much either. It was just fine. But for me, my number one, obviously, and call me biased, it would have been for me either Scorsese, McQueen, or David O. Russell. Those are the three for me. And a lot of people didn't like American Hustle. I liked that movie. I think that movie was.
I remember there was a backlash to that. It came out the same time as Wolf of Wall Street, and people are like, American Hustle is kind of boring compared to Wolf of Wall Street. I remember they had the same text for the film. It was both yellow on a black poster, kind of. Yeah. And they kind of looked like the same film right next to each other as you walk to the theater. So they had that stigma going with them. But any last words on Wolf of Wall Street?
No, this movie's fucking awesome, and I'm so glad. I honestly am really glad. I kind of wanted to see something because I told you I hadn't seen Malcolm X in a long time, so I would want to revisit something that I hadn't seen in a while. Because
Mhm.
again, I could have not seen Wolf of Wall Street yesterday, and I would have been able to do this review. Maybe not remember certain lines as well as obviously I did today, but I'm so glad that it did get picked because I told you I've been wanting to revisit it, and it just this movie doesn't let up. And every time that I see it, I just fall in love with it. Maybe a little bit more after every time, and it just creeps up on my top films every single time that I watch it. It's fantastic.
Uh,
Um,
It's my number 3 or 4 of all time.
of all time,
Yeah,
wow.
like just because when you talk about your favorite films, rewatchability is the biggest thing you got to think of.
Yeah.
Why am I going to see this again? Because I'm going to pick up something different every time, and there's more entertainment value every time, and that's exactly what Wolf of Wall Street personifies. Like we said, I said I've watched this every single year since it's come out multiple times. I just pick up more and more stuff, like I did this year with Kyle Chandler's character.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. This is the exact same thing. I didn't think that I was gonna pick up because I've seen this movie, no lie, well over 7 or 8 times at least,
Mhm.
and probably even more. Because I remember the year it came out, I saw it. I think I saw it in one weekend. I saw it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. How much I loved it, right?
Yeah.
But and it's not that I picked up anything new, but I actually did. Like, it's not that I didn't, but I just noticed more with Kyle Chandler. And it's funny you said that because the yacht scene and the subway scene, I was like, huh. And I noticed that Naomi being a gold digger, which I never really saw. I just thought she fell out in love with him because of the whole him being going to prison and all that
He's a
stuff. But
terrible
no,
person.
she
Yeah.
never really loved him, which is bizarre.
Yeah,
This
'cause
movie's bizarre.
she bounces from one guy to Belfort, and then she's just ready to move on again after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they're all great in this film. I think that's the legacy it leaves for me is it was the top of the mountain for a lot of people. Like even like John Favreau's in this movie for a couple minutes, and you remember him.
Yeah.
But it's also the introduction to a lot of actors that like Margot Robbie introduced us to her.
Which she was in the movie before this, but for me, and I saw About Time before I saw Wolf of Wall Street. But for me, the Duchess is the first time I ever saw her.
Mhm.
And I like almost drooled in the theater. Like, so gorgeous, and there's not one scene in this movie where she looks like okay. She looks beautiful in every single scene in this movie, which is different from my time.
Yes.
Which,
Well, it's
you
funny
know,
that you bring up the Rocco scene where she's in the pink dress, and you're like, "Oh, Daddy doesn't get to touch mommy for the
yeah.
entire rest of the day." Like
You
she
know what?
playing with him.
Oh no, no, absolutely, and and it's crazy because that they have that famous DiCaprio gift where he's like, where he does that. It's literally me watching that scene every time. Every time I see that film, I'm like, oh my god, she's just so gorgeous in this movie. She's honestly like my number one celebrity crush. But I think as like most men out there right now,
Yeah,
and
I
but for
think she
me, this is literally what kicked off. I think this is what kicked off her career completely.
yes.
You know.
So
But
this movie is incredible. I think this might have been my favorite episode we've done so far, talking about the MCU rankings and Wolf of Wall Street. It's been really fun today, guys. So thank you
yeah.
for joining us. If you want to be sure to look out for the poll either tomorrow or the next day for our next films. We haven't decided on the topic yet. We'll get to that, but please go like and share and comment on this. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you think of Wolf of Wall Street. Put your MC rankings in there. And you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Movie Guy and on Cine Sports Talk where I write a bunch of stuff there. Jader, you got anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me here, Jader Paramo, JADERPARAMO, and on Instagram and Twitter, infamous J13. Thanks for watching, guys. This is actually probably my favorite episode as well. So,
Yeah.
thank you for watching, and yeah, give us your MCU rankings. Tell us what you liked about Wolf of Wall Street. If you didn't like Wolf of Wall Street, I want to hear from you guys. I really, really do, because I've been seeing more now. I want to say hate for the film, but the whole
Pushback.
pushback or guys overhyping this film or people overhyping it that it's not that great, which blows my mind. It's really mind boggling for me. But I want to hear, if you don't like Wolf of Wall Street, let us know why,
Mm-hmm.
please, because I want to get that take from different people.
Well, thank you so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next time on the Jader and Kyle Show.